This video is for Algebra, section 6.3. This section is called Solving Multi-Step Inequalities. Our learning goal is the learner will apply knowledge of inequalities to solve multi-step inequalities. So section 6.1 and section 6.2, you were basically solving one step or sometimes two-step equations, inequalities. In this section, you'll be solving multi-step inequalities, meaning more than one step. So you'll be using the last two sections together. There are no new vocabulary terms, so you don't have to worry about any of those. Prerequisites is basic solving equations. You should know how to do that. The distributive property, because we will be using that again. Solving inequalities using the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, which should have been sections 6.1 and 6.2. All right, and those are basically all of your notes. Pretty short this time. We'll move right into the example problems. So let's start with number 1 on the first page. They gave you 11y plus 13 is greater than or equal to negative 1. You want to get y by itself, so we're going to use the order of operations backwards. So we're going to get rid of any adding and subtracting first by subtracting 13 from both sides. And again, that's things you should have learned from solving equalities. You shouldn't be learning that new now. We still want to get y by itself, so we need to divide by 11 on both sides. Y is greater than or equal to, I can't divide negative 14 by 11 evenly, so I can leave it that way. Or to make my check a little bit easier, I could make it a mixed number. How many 11s are in 14? Well, there's a negative there, but there's one 11, and there would be 3 leftovers. So you could do it that way, or you can just leave it as negative 14 over 11. And you do need to do the check, so I need a number greater than or equal to negative 1 and 3 11s. I'm going to choose 0 because that's greater and it's easy. 11, replace the y with 0, plus 13 is greater than or equal to negative 1. 11 times 0 is 0. 0. Plus 13 is greater than or equal to negative 1. 13 is greater than or equal to negative 1. That's true, which means my answer works. And the one thing that we have not done in the first two sections that I want you to start doing in this section, and you may need to add this to your notes perhaps as vocabulary, is set builder notation. If they ask you to put things in set builder notation, all you do, if this was my answer, I'm going to put a brace, put my variable, which is y, put a little wall, and rewrite my answer. And then close it with another brace. This is how I'm going to write all of my answers from this point on. You need to put them all in set builder notation. All right, moving on to number 3. Number 3 says q over 7 plus 1 is greater than negative 5. I want to get rid of that plus 1, so I subtract 1. So I get q over 7 is greater than negative 6. I want to multiply by 7 to get q by itself, because those will cancel. It is greater than negative 42. And this is where I'm going to just put it into set builder notation. Oops. Hopefully yours are a little neater looking than mine. And put the variable in the wall, and then my answer's already there, and close the brace. I still need to check my answer. Q is greater than negative 42. So I need to pick anything bigger than negative 42, but I want to be able to divide it by 7. So I'm going to choose to use 0 because it's easy. So wherever Q was, I put 0 and rewrite the original inequality. 0 over 7 is 0. Oops. That's a negative 5. And 0 plus 1 is 1, greater than negative 5. That's true, so my answer did work. Moving to number 5. They gave me negative 12 minus d is greater than negative 12 plus 4d. I want to get all my d's together first. I would do that by adding d so that it'll move with the other d's. I get negative 12 is greater than negative 12 plus 5d. Then I want to get all my numbers to go to the other side, so I'm going to add 12 so that those will move over here. Those will cancel. In this case, these cancel too, which means I have 0 over here, greater than 5d. Divide by 5 to get d by itself. 0 divided by 5 is 0. Rewrite it so the variable is on the right side. Sorry, well, technically the left side. Correct side, I guess. And then put it into set builder notation. And then check my answer. I need to pick a number less than 0. Negative 1 would work because it's less than 0. So negative 12 minus negative 1 is greater than negative 12 plus 4 times negative 1. Plus negative 12 plus 1 is negative 11. And this is just negative 4. So negative 12 plus negative 4, negative 16. Negative 11 is greater than negative 16, so my answer works. On to number 7. Number 7 says negative 3x plus 6 all over 2 is less than or equal to 12. Alright, well, first thing I would do is put my parentheses here so I remember all that stuff's together. And then I want to multiply by 2 to get rid of that fraction. Keeping in mind those will cancel. Doesn't do anything to the top, just changes the bottom because they canceled. 12 times 2 is 24. I'm trying to get x by itself, so I want to subtract 6, so my numbers will move over to the other side. Negative 3x is less than or equal to 18. Still trying to get x by itself, so I want to divide by negative 3 on both sides. So x is less than or equal to negative 6. Put it in set builder notation with the x and the wall and the brace over here. And then I need to check my answer by picking a number less than or equal to negative 6. Doesn't really matter what I pick. I'm going to pick negative 10 because I think it'll be easy to work with. So negative 3, replace the x with negative 10 plus 6 all over 2 is less than or equal to 12. Negative 3 times negative 10 is positive 30 plus 6 over 2 is less than or equal to 12. 30 plus 6 is 36 over 2, less than or equal to 12. 36 divided by 2 is 18. Is 18 less than or equal to 12? It's not, which is the reason we do the checks. I hope you saw that mistake that I did so that you would know what to do. This check is there because I know 18 is not less than negative 2. So I have to go look back at my problem and figure out what did I do wrong. I hope you saw it already. Right here, I divided by negative 3. If I divide by negative 3, what was I supposed to do with this sign? You should remember you were supposed to flip it to be greater than or equal to. So now I need to pick a number greater than or equal to negative 6. I could use 0 for that. Negative 3 times 0 plus 6 over 2 less than or equal to 12. And I'm going to do it the same way. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. So that's just 6 over 2 less than or equal to 12. 6 over 2 is 3. That is less than or equal to 12. So now it works because I have it correct. So hopefully you're understanding why we do those checks so you can find those mistakes and not get them wrong on a quiz or a test. Homework's not quite as important because it's practice. But on a test or a quiz, you should really be checking those answers and make sure they're right before you turn in that paper. Number 9, we have 8m minus 3 is less than 18 minus m. I want to get all my m's together, so I'm going to choose to add m. You could do a few different things. If I did that, negative 8 plus m would give me negative 7m minus 3 less than 18. Those would cancel. I want to move my 3 over here, so I'm going to add 3. Negative 7m is less than 21. Divide by negative 7. Hopefully this time you remember when I divided by negative 7, my sign flips. So I get greater than negative 3. And put it in set builder notation. Check my answer. So I want to use a number greater than negative 3. Again, 0 will work. It's greater than negative 3. So let's try 0. Negative 8 times 0 minus 3 is less than 18 minus 0. That's 0, so that's negative 3. 18 minus 0 is 18. Negative 3 is less than 18, so that's correct. So my answer worked. Moving on to number 9. Sorry, number 11. Number 11 says 9n minus 24n plus 45 is greater than 0. 9n and negative 24n are on the same side of that inequality sign, right? So you need to make sure you are not trying to add 24 to both sides or subtract 9n from both sides because these are on the same side. They're like terms. You just combine them. So positive 9 and negative 24 should give you negative 15n plus 45 is greater than 0. I want my number to go to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 45 from both sides. Negative 15n is greater than negative 45. I need n by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 15. Those will cancel. N is greater than, negative divided by negative cancels. 45 divided by 15 is 3. Put it in set builder notation with the n in the wall. We need a number greater than 3. And I have to multiply by all these things. I'm going to use 10 because it's easy. 9 times 10 minus 24 times 10 plus 45 greater than 0. So I went to this original statement and replaced all my n's with the 10 because that's the number I chose to plug in. 9 times 10 is 90. 24 times 10 is 240. And 45 greater than 0. 90 and 45 are both positive, so I'm going to put those together first. You don't have to do it that way, it's just what I choose to do. 90 and 45 is 135, and then negative 240 is still there. 135 minus 240. If you don't know that, it's positive and negative, so I have to subtract them. So I'm going to put the bigger number on top, subtract it out, get 5. I had to borrow here. 3 minus 3 is 0, 2 minus 1 is 1. So I got 105, 105. There were more positives or more negatives? Which one? Look at the numbers. There should be more negatives. So I should get negative 105 is greater than 0. Did that work? Again, I hope you caught that mistake and didn't do that. Okay, and I'm doing these on purpose so that you will understand why we do the check. It's very important. We divided by negative 15. You should have remembered to flip that to less than. And as less than 3, I can use 0. So 9 times 0 minus 24 times 0 plus 45 is greater than 0. That's 0 and that's 0. 45 is greater than 0. That's true, so this answer was right. We need to be doing those checks so you don't have those mistakes on a quiz or a test. Please make sure you are doing them and you're doing them correctly. Number 13. We have to define a variable, so let x be a number. Then we need to write the inequality. It says negative 3 times, well, negative 3 times a number's x, plus 4 is no more than the number minus 8. So somewhere over here I have the number minus 8. If it said no more, should be less than or equal to. Make sure you know those. I want to get all my x's together. You can do this several different ways. I'm going to choose to add 3x. Those will be gone. 4 is less than or equal to. 3x plus x is 4x minus 8. I want to add 8 to both sides to get my numbers all on the other side. So 12 is less than or equal to 4x. Divide by 4. I get 3 is less than or equal to x. I want to rewrite it so the variable is on the left, keeping it pointing toward the right number or letter. Put it in set builder notation. And hopefully we didn't divide by any negatives or multiply by any negatives, so we should have our correct answer. X is greater than or equal to 3. So I want to make something bigger than 3. I choose 10. Negative 3 times 10 plus 4 is less than or equal to 10 minus 8. Plug them into the original, replace my x's with 10s. Negative 3 times 10 is negative 30 plus 4 less than or equal to 10 minus 8 is 2. Negative 30 plus 4 is negative 26 less than or equal to 2. That is true, which means my answer was right. And the last one on this page, number 15. Again, to find a variable, I'm going to use the same thing. So let x be a number. Write the inequality. So it says the sum of 12 and a number, sum means adding, so 12 plus a number, which is x, is no greater than, so less than or equal to, the sum of twice the number, so twice the number plus and negative 8. Alright, I want to get my x's together again, so I'm going to choose to subtract this x from both sides. You could do this other ways and get the same answer, it's okay. 2x minus x is x. And then I want to get my 8 to go over there, so I'm going to add an 8, because then the signs will, signs will cancel each other out with positive and negative, and they'll go away. So I get 20 is less than or equal to x, those canceled. Rewrite it so my variable is on the left. I don't know where that came from. So I'm going to say x is greater than or equal to 20. Put the wall, put the variable, put the braces around it. Alright, and I need to check my work. So I need it to be greater than or equal to 20. 21, 22, whatever. 30 maybe might be easier to work with, doesn't matter. So 12 plus 30, less than or equal to 2 times 30, plus negative 8. So I replaced my x's in this statement with 30, because that number would fit. It's greater than or equal to 20. 12 plus 30 is 42. 2 times 30 is 60. 60 plus negative 8 is 52. 42 less than 52? Yes. So my answer works. On to the second page of this section. On the second page, you should notice there are parentheses on pretty much every problem. And that should automatically make you realize why we had, why we had the distributive property in our notes. Because we're going to be using it to distribute through parentheses. So, let's clear my page. Number 1 on the second page. We have 2 times the quantity t plus 3 greater than or equal to 16. Very first step on almost all of these problems is going to be to distribute through those parentheses. Distribute my 2 across. So 2 times t is 2t. 2 times 3 is 6, greater than or equal to 16. Subtract my 6. 2t is greater than or equal to 10. Divide by 2. T is greater than or equal to 5. I need to check my answer, so I need something greater than or equal to 5. I'm putting in my set builder notation. Greater than or equal to 5, I'm going to choose 6. 2 times 6 plus 3 greater than or equal to 16. 2 times 9 greater than or equal to 16. 18 is greater than or equal to 16. That's true. So this was right. On to number 3. Number 3 says 4h minus 8 is less than 2 times the quantity h minus 1. Alright. again, I want to distribute first. Everything on this side is going to stay the same. 2 times h gives me 2h. 2 times negative 1 gives me negative 2. I want to get my letters together, so I want to subtract 2h from both sides. That's 2h minus 8 less than negative 2 because those canceled. Add my 8 to get it to go to the other side. 2h is less than 6. Divide by 2. H is less than 3. Put it in set builder notation. And check my answer. So I need an h to be less than 3. I'm going to choose 2. 4 times 2 minus 8 less than 2 times 2 minus 1. So again, I went back to the original statement, replaced my h's with a number that fits my answer. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8 minus 8. 2 minus 1 is 1. 8 minus 8 is 0. That is less than 2, so my answer works. So this is correct. On to number 5. Number 5 is 4.6 times x minus 3.4 greater than 5.1x. And I need to distribute first. So 4.6 times x is 4.6x. I don't know what 4.6 times 3.4 is, so I've got to do that. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 2 is 18. 0. 3 times 6 is 18. And 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. 4, 16, 3, 4, 5, and 1. And there were 2 decimals, so 1, 2 decimals. So this was a negative 15.64 greater than 5.1x. I need all my x's together, so I'm going to subtract 4.6x from both sides. Negative 15.64 is greater than 5.1 minus 4.6. I would have to borrow here. 11 minus 6 would be 5. 4 minus 4 is nothing, so decimal. Okay, got to get x by itself, so I need to divide by 0.5. And again, my guess would be you do not know what that is off the top of your head, so you need to do the long division. So I have 15.64 divided by 0.5. Move my decimal to match. Decimal's going to go right there. 5 doesn't go into 1. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract. Bring down the 6. 5 into 6 goes once. Make sure your numbers are over the right. This should be over the 5. 1 should be over the 6. 5 times 1 is 5. Subtract to get 1. Bring down the 4. 5 into 14 goes twice. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract and get 4. I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down since there's already a decimal. 5 into 40 goes 8 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract and get 0 and we're done. We got 31.28. This was a negative divided by a positive, so you do get a negative, and it should be 31.28. And we need to rewrite it so my variable's on the left, so x is less than negative 31.28. Put it in set builder notation, just like that. Then I need to check my answer. So over here I'm going to do a check. I need to choose a number less than negative 31.28. I'm going to choose negative, let's see, pretty much anything I choose in this case is going to be a little bit more difficult than most of the ones we've done. So it doesn't really matter. I'm going to choose negative 32. So 4.6 times negative 32 minus 3.4 is greater than 5.1 times negative 32. So I replace my x's with negative 32. That's going to give me 4.6 times, this is plus a negative, so basically it's going to be a negative, and it's 32 plus 3.4 will be 35.4, greater than 5.1 times negative 32. I don't know what that is. So I'm going to put 32 times 5.1, it's 2, 3, 0, 10, 16, 1632, one decimal right there. Alright, so I've got 163.2 on that side. On this side, I again need to do the multiplication because I don't know that. I do know it's going to be, both of them are going to be negatives. This is a negative. And I have 35.4 times 4.6. 6 times 4 is 24. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2 is 32. Whoops. 32. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 3 is 21. And put a 0. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 1. And 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. 4, 8, 2, 6, 1. There were 2 decimal places, so it goes right there. So negative 162.84 is greater than negative 163.2. That is true, and we are finally done with that problem. Circle my answer. Moving on to number 7. Number 7, we have 3 times the quantity 2y minus 4 minus 2 times the quantity y plus 1 is greater than 10. Again, start with the distributive. This time you have to do it twice. 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Put my like terms together. 6 and negative 2 is 4y. Negative 12 and negative 2 is negative 14. Add 14 to both sides. 4y is greater than 24. Divide by 4. And y is greater than 6. Put it in set builder notation. And then we have to check our answers. We need a number bigger than 6. I choose 10. 3 times 2 times 10 minus 4 minus 2 times 10 plus 1 greater than 10. Alright. 2 times 10 is 20 minus 4, 16. And 10 plus 1 is 11. 3 times 16, if you don't know it off the top of your head, you should do it out, but it is 48. Minus 22 is greater than 11. 48 minus 22 should give you 26. Greater than 11, that is true. So my answer was right. On to number 9. Number 9, we have negative 2 times k minus 1 is greater than 8 times 1 plus k. Distributive property is going to come first, twice again. Negative 2 times k is negative 2k. Negative times a negative is positive. 2 times 1 is 2. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times k is 8k. I want to get all my k's together, so I choose to add 2k to both sides. I get 2 is greater than 8 plus 10k. I want to get this 8 away, so subtract it. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Divide by 10. Negative 6 over 10 I can't do, but I could reduce it to negative 3 over 5, greater than k. K is less than negative 3 over 5. Put it in set builder notation. And I need to pick a number less than negative 3/5 to plug in. I choose negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 minus 1 is greater than 8. times 1 plus negative 1. And negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. And 1 plus negative 1 is 0. Negative 4 greater than 0. Sorry, negative 2 times negative 2 should not be negative 4. Positive. There. 4 is greater than 0. That is true, which means my answer was correct. On to number 11. Number 11 says m plus 17 is less than or equal to negative quantity 4m minus 13. And I'm still going to have to distribute, even though there's no number, it's really a negative 1. So you're distributing that. M plus 17 is less than or equal to negative 1 times 4m is negative 4m. Negative 1 times negative 13 is plus 13. Get all my m's together, so add 4m to both sides. Gives me 5m plus 17 is less than or equal to 13. Subtract 17. Those will cancel. 5m is less than or equal to negative 4. Divide by 5 to get m by itself. M is less than or equal to negative 4/5. And I need to check my answer, so I need it to be less than or equal to negative 4/5. So I will choose to use negative 1. Oh, sorry, forgot to put it in set builder notation. Make sure you do that. Then I need to use negative 1, so m plus 17 less than or equal to negative times 4 times negative 1 minus 13. Oops, why do I have an m? Shouldn't have any variables when I'm doing my check. Should all be plugged in with negative 1. Negative 1 plus 17 is 16. A negative there. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus negative 13 is negative 17. And negative 17 is positive 17. 16 is less than 17. That's true. So my answer was correct. On to number 13. Number 13 is 2 times y minus 2 greater than negative 4 plus 2y. Distribute. So I get 2y minus 4 greater than negative 4 plus 2y. I want to get all my y's on the same side, so I'm going to subtract 2y. You should notice something that happened. They both canceled. I don't have any variables left. I'm left with a statement that says negative 4 is greater than negative 4. If they're the same number, how can it be bigger? That doesn't make any sense, which means this is impossible. There is no number I could plug in for a y and get a correct answer, because no matter what it is, they would cancel out and I would get negative 4 greater than negative 4, which is not true. So there is no solution. That is impossible. And if it's impossible, you can't do a check, so you don't have to. Move on to number 15. Number 15 says n minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 3 times the quantity 2 plus n. N minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 3 times, what am I doing? Sorry, I don't know why I just rewrote that again. Sorry. We should be distributing. So distribute and distribute. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times n is negative 3n. And then I want to get my n's all together. I'm going to choose to add 3n to both sides. So all my n's will be positive. I have 4n minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 6. Those canceled. I want to get all my numbers together. So I choose to add 4 to both sides. 4n is less than or equal to negative 2. Divide by 4. n is less than or equal to negative 2 over 4. I cannot solve, but I can reduce to negative 1/2. Put it in set builder notation. And I need a number less than or equal to negative 1/2 that I can plug in here. I choose negative 1. So I replace all my n's with negative 1. So negative 1 minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 3 times 2 plus negative 1. That's going to give me negative 5 less than or equal to negative 3 times 2 plus negative 1 is 1. Negative 5 is less than or equal to negative 3. That's true. So my answer was right. Number 17. Define a variable. So I'm going to start with let x be a number. You can use any letter you want, but you do have to say that. That's part of the problem, defining a variable. And it says write the inequality 3 times the sum of a number. So 3 times something added, so it's going to be in parentheses. The sum of a number and 6. The number is x plus 6 is greater than 4 times the number, 4 times x, because that's the number, decreased by 2, so minus 2. Distribute first. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 6 is 18. 4x minus 2. I want all my x's together, so I choose to subtract 3x. 18 is greater than x minus 2. I want my numbers together, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. It gives me 20 greater than x. Rewrite it so my variable's on the left, so I want x less than 20 because it's got to eat the 20. Still eating the 20. Put the wall, the x, and the braces. Then I need to check my answer. We want x to be less than 20, so I'm going to choose 0 because 0 is easy. I tend to use that a lot. 3 times 0 plus 6 is greater than 4 times 0 minus 2. So I replaced all my x's with zeros. 0 plus 6 is 6, so 3 times 6. 4 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 18 is greater than negative 2, so it worked. So my answer was correct. And that is the end of section 6.3 video.